Hi, Hunter Hastings here. It's an exciting time to be an entrepreneurial value creator. As an economic class, we're newly supported by robust infrastructure that somebody else has built. We've got the worldwide internet for communications connections to everywhere in the world. We've got data centers that we can buy by the hour or the minute at marginal cost. We've got AI. We've got pre-built supply chains. We've even got demand creation that's done for us by others. So we can focus on customers, on creating value, and being certain that all the infrastructure is available to support and deliver the value we create. With us today is Neil Twa. He's an expert in this field because he's built many businesses through this process, what he calls almost automated income. Now that's the name of a book, and Neil is in fact offering free copies of this book, which you can access through a link on the valuecreators.com website. But more importantly, he's here today to answer questions. Almost automated income with FBA refers to Fulfillment by Amazon, which is the platform that they've built and on which you can create a multi-million-dollar business. What Neil has for us is a comprehensive blueprint to help you think about and activate this exciting business strategy. So let's welcome Neil.
This is the Value Creators Podcast. Value creation is the sole purpose of any business and every business, and for all of us as entrepreneurs. Listen to great value creators as they share their successes, trials, and lessons learned. Join us as we explore how to think as value creators, how to act as value creators, and how to view business through the lens of value creation.
Neil, welcome to the Value Creators Podcast.
Hey, Hunter. Thanks for having me on here.
Well, it's exciting to have you here today. We're very positive about the future opportunity for entrepreneurial businesses.
Yes.
We think that the way the economy is distributed is going to change in the future. We think now of big business and small business, but coming up, small businesses, so-called small businesses, are going to have access to scale and resources and platforms, as we'll discuss, that has never been the case before.
Yeah.
I saw a great phrase once on a Substack that somebody wrote that we now download scale from the internet. So
We do. That's so true.
economies of scale no longer
It's a level playing field. Yeah, in many ways.
Hopefully it is.
Mm.
So we're going to talk about platforms. We're going to talk about a specific one, the Amazon FBA, and you'll tell us all about that. But let's start at that general point that entrepreneurs have access to, I call them generative platforms. There's all kinds of other infrastructure that they can download. How do you see entrepreneurial businesses growing in that vein in the future?
Well, it's fascinating because I have a high-tech background. I've got oil and gas background and mobile industry and e-commerce and SaaS software and got a whole breadth of experience across multiple industries. And so for me, I've looked at the different industries and the way they move. And as an entrepreneurial person and a business owner and investor, and moving through the last 17 years, there's been a lot of change in our economy. There's a lot of change with commerce, the internet, now AI, movements of large platforms and connecting people through social media and stuff. It's really created kind of a fascinating time that in literally the last 5 years, there's things we can do now to expedite time and increase scale that required warehouses and employees and other things in the past, and we don't need any of that now. You can reach scale through viral videos. You can reach scale through leveraging other platforms that have built communities, and community and brand-driven narrative is where 2025 and beyond is going. So for the small business owner to capture that, there's a huge opportunity to build 7, 8-figure businesses with you and 3 VAs. Right. And so this is kind of how we've built our structure of model and have been able to enable it to go faster and easier over the last 3 to 5 years, with some of those mechanisms coming into place for literally the first time in the history of the internet, or availability for people of our size and business, even small, mid-sized businesses doing 25, 50 million a year.
Yeah, I love the line in your book that somebody else has already built the warehouses, bought the trucks, set up the data center, and
Correct.
it's all ready to go.
They spent
So
billions of dollars of developing it,
that's
right?
right. That's right. And we all have access to that now.
Leverage.
It's fascinating. Um, we're going to talk about Amazon FBA as the main platform, but just before we get there, you point out there are other platforms that are available out there, right?
Yes.
There are other ways to base and grow businesses. How should entrepreneurs think about that? Should they sort through them, or should they think about what's the best platform for me, or should they just go straight to Amazon because that's the most sophisticated?
Yes. That's almost a how long is a piece of string question. So let me try to answer it in the context of frame. It's going to be slightly different for each person who wants to develop a particular business, a digital asset or a physical asset. All right. Since we're the physical asset world of branding and physical products, but we also have the digital medium of digital e-commerce, allowing us to facilitate the movement of those products worldwide in just-in-time logistics, right? Which was, by the way, the second oldest profession in the world, moving and selling products.
Yeah.
Okay, this is not a new thing. We just use tools at our disposal to make it easier to move, right? Amazon is like a hammer. It is something that can build amazing things, add on a deck, build your house, or it can smash your thumb or kill you as the second, branded weapon, I think, beyond baseball bats. So you can do bad things with good stuff. Some people want to argue that, well, I don't own the customer data, which is a valid point to a degree. They will say, there's no value in that for me. And I would argue there's tremendous value in leveraging someone else's community to define whether or not that brand has mass market appeal. And others would say, well, I want my own website because I want all my own control. And I would say, well, everything on the internet, unless you control the hardware, the lines, the infrastructure, and the servers it's writing on, and you own all that infrastructure, you technically are going to ride on somebody else's platform. And so I would say you just need to figure out which horse you can ride. In my world out here in the country, you can ride two horses. You can't ride two horses with one ass. So at the end of the day, you need to pick one that you're going to ride. And now, having done media, traffic, online buying, been in the mobile space, played with online ads, had my own website, did the SEO thing and looked at the platforms for growth. Amazon has become such a juggernaut of information and movement of physical products. It is back-end infrastructure as the sixth largest logistics supply chain in the world. It's a freaking miracle the thing works.
Mm-hmm.
It delivers last mile to customers in every location you can possibly want to get products to. So at the end of the day, it's a wonderful tool to be used to leverage. Of course, it comes with a cost, platform fees and other things. You just have to figure that into the business. You have to know your numbers, right? And so many people are still playing the gut feeling game, not actually knowing their numbers about business. And so they make conjectures or assumptions based on what they've heard someone else say, which a lot of times, online's marketing language, and not actually got down to the fundamentals of what a business actually means to run. So if we start at the business level, we are e-commerce business owners. We choose Amazon FBA as our first platform, but there are TikTok shops, your website, Macy's.com, Walmart.com, Wayfair. There are plenty of other marketplaces to take your wares out there, including retail, big box, Costco, et cetera. Once you establish that brand and make it run, you're going to have access to all of that. Okay. If you say, well, Neil, I don't want to do that. I don't want to play on Amazon. I'd rather just go big box retail. Well, I can tell you, you can't get an order of 500,000 units or $500,000 from Costco without having proven you have other channels of sales. They will simply reject you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You have to have other mechanisms in place. I take a product over to a TikTok shop. I have to have a product. I've got to be able to deliver the product. I have to be able to fulfill it unless I'm going to be an affiliate. And then I have to make sure that actually occurs correctly. So I need some foundation and some base to establish the movement of product to the customer and making sure that's done correctly. I just found that Amazon, when they were growing this entire infrastructure and spending $15 billion making it go, that it was much easier for me to leverage that. They handle the customer support, the back end, the operations, the returns, in the fulfillment component of it. So what I'm really doing at the end of the day is being a marketer who is, selling products to an AI engine through listings and digital media online that happens to deliver products to the customer to fulfill that obligation, that transaction. So while I have a physical products business, we're actually a digital selling business model, right?
Yep.
The physical product completes the expected transaction of a monetary transaction. And of course, making sure that closes correctly means I'm going to provide a great product no matter which platform I'm on, because I want the good reviews. And online, you've got to get good reviews, right? So really, most people focus on the wrong metrics. Yep. They focus too much on the product and not enough on the selling. right? Or they focus too much on the selling and they create a crappy product, a Me Too product nobody wants, and the whole thing collapses. So we got to find our middle ground, regardless of which platform we're on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get to the P&L and the balance sheet and the product in a second. But one of the things that delighted me about your book, Neil, was we talk value creation, we talk
Yeah,
customer first, understanding customers and understanding their needs and their wants and their unsolved problems. And you
right.
said exactly the same thing.
Yeah,
Think of your business as serving a customer in a way that they haven't been served before that's going to delight them. So you start with the
right.
customer.
You start with a customer, you innovate, don't invent. I'm an inventor by nature. I've been on a patent. Inventing is the way I thought you made lots of money online or in the world. And, even going through the Shark Tank process to a degree, but never making it completely because I ran into Kevin Harrington, who is one of the original sharks, and we became friends. And I sort of, skipped to the whole Shark Tank thing to learn how that worked. But at the end of the day, most people are still kind of caught in an ideology that if you build it they will come, that somehow if I make this amazing unique product no one's ever heard of, that's the only way I'm ever going to make enough money to to have a life-changing event, to create generational time freedom or wealth freedoms. And the actuality is there are millions of products that you can create small variation innovations of and just make them a little better. Okay, make them a little better, make them a little more profitable, dial right into that customer and go right into the market and compete head to head with some of these really large companies. We do it all the time. I've done it for more than a decade, right? At the end of the day, the innovation creates that similarity and familiarity. And then when we leverage a platform like Amazon, we create that trust mechanism that allows the customers to buy directly from us. And then we can prove and incubate a brand to seven figures on Amazon, knowing it has mass market appeal, and then moving it into secondary channels. And all of that is just a matter of conditioning. All right. It's a matter of conditioning yourself to start thinking as a seller and not a consumer. We're so consumer driven in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
People think, well, I wouldn't buy that, so no one else wants to. Well, already you're out. You're wrong.
Yeah.
They think, well, no one wants to buy $1,000 purse because they can't buy $1,000 purse. And that's also wrong too. They think that nobody would want another crock pot version, yet they buy $1 billion of Instapot. And they think, well, there's no other thing but Instapot. And then there's actually air fryers.
Mm-hmm.
So there is always an innovation against another idea that has a slight lateral movement, and where you can sell millions of dollars a year in those products by simply getting in the market and competing.
And how do you choose customers, Neil?
Yeah.
So I want to sell to cooks, or I want to sell to school teachers, or I want to sell to teenage girls. How do you choose your customer?
Yeah, so we call it the circle of confidence. And it usually starts in the areas in which we know or have intrinsic background or history, somewhat familiarity or knowledge around that. Could be a spouse, could be work environment, could be things I purchased in the last, 180 days on Amazon myself. And I look at it and say, well, I'm an avatar. My wife is an avatar. Which one would buy the most products? Well,
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, it's my wife. She and most women spend 80% of the money online for families and are buying, 80% of the goods online. Larger purchases are usually done as couples or groups or families and buy larger things that are not necessarily everyday, monthly, weekly items that ladies buy it on these platforms. So 27 to 40-year-old women became our target because they were the ones buying the most goods online. And so as we said, okay, what do they want? Where do they go? We sort of went in our world through a process of elimination that came through both the numbers. What do we want to sell? How profitable do we want it to be? How much do we want to make sure our net bottom, profitability is, our net EBITDA is going to be? And then we kind of work backwards into which products match those metrics so that we aren't selling products on a vanity metrics. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
People typically seem to think customers operate on vanity metrics. Okay, my revenues are this much, my number of units are this much. And as I mentioned a minute ago, it could be vanity metrics about the type of product they're purchasing at price points, maybe because it's their scarcity or limiting beliefs or limiting capital that won't allow them to purchase it, but there's still millions of people that will buy those every year, right? Even at the $500 or $1,000 range.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at it from a conditional statement of going through a process by which you start defining anything and anywhere in your network of product ideas that you can come up with. And we will typically say it's $50 to $500 in retail price point. We average between $100 to $175 in retail price point for each of our products. When you do that, you actually step into a barrier of opportunity that not many people are willing to step into. Okay, they typically are going to think 50 or less. They think, well, if I sell more units of the $20 product, more people are going to want to buy it. I'll make more money. But that's actually a vanity metric when you get profitability down below $1.50 to $3 or $5 a unit after taxes and operational costs and everything else. You find that's not a whole lot of money when you're clearing out 75 cents a unit for a $19 product. Okay. Well, if you can clear out $3 to $5 a unit after all cost goods and services are going, you're still doing okay. The problem becomes economies of scale. The problem becomes if I sell 1,000 units and make $3 in profit this month, but sells 2,000 units of that product next month at $3 in profit, I did not make the same amount of money. If I'm lucky, I'm going to make $1 in profit after all cost, inventory, and the physical product ordering and movement of products through the logistics and supply chain. I simply burdened myself more without increasing my profit, right? So most people don't get that because they think in certain vanity. What I would prefer to do is sell another 1,000 units next month, but change my profit from $3 to $5, right?
Yeah.
Now I'm actually going to make more money. And if I can continue that process of inking up 50 cents or $1 until I'm making $7 or $10 or $12 in profit per unit, I'm going to do a lot better. And there are certain restrictions to that. Retail price points for certain products, 20 to 25 in range, won't hold that much net profit in them. They just won't. So you're going to move a lot of volume. You're not going to necessarily move a lot of profit. So when we get into that $50 to $500 range, all of a sudden you're opening up $20, $30, $40, $60, $70 or more in profit per unit. You can pay yourself, operations, marketing, and actually have something left over at the end of the day to grow the business, right?
Yeah.
So it's very important people like understand the right fundamental metrics of this business model before they really start thinking about how and what products they'll sell, because that will then back you into which customer you go after.
Yeah. And we think of that in the lens of value, Neil. Value has got nothing to do with price. Value is what the customer feels, the right customer getting the right feeling from the right solution that you've given them. We call it subjective value. It's what the customer feels. You called it solution value.
I did.
You're solving the problem that they have. Is that the same thing?
Almost, because really at the end of the day, there's usually 3 questions a buyer has in their mind that they want answered about a specific product. And it's usually, again, a self-centric, focused, solution-oriented problem that says something to the effect of, I want to lose weight, gain weight, run farther, jump higher. I want something safe for a family or a friend. Typically those are the 3 things that are on their mind when they come to buy that product. And my job is not to convince them to buy my product. It's to answer those 3 questions. So in other words, the need for that product now changes its value. The perception changes to, well, it's going to solve my problem, so I'll pay what it's worth. So for example, you go down to a dentist, you've got your teeth hurting. You're going to call a dentist. You pushed it off to the longest. You're in extreme pain in your teeth, right? And you're like, I need this thing fixed. I pushed it to the max. I woke up this morning and my whole head is now hurting and it's throbbing in my ear. I've got to fix this. So you call your dentist and he says, great, I can fix that for you. It takes about an hour. It'll be about $250. And you're like, okay, one more hour of this nonsense, $250. Could you fix this any faster? Is there another solution? They say, sure, for $500, I'll have it fixed in 10 minutes. If you can come down right now, right? I'm going to run down and fix that problem. The value is of the pain relief I'm gaining, not the price point it cost me to get to the solution, right? That's a customer orientation, a psychology of a buyer, as we refer to it, that we're targeting in more of a tier 2 or tier 3 avatar. With that, I need to provide solutions that match up that perceived value in their mind. Okay. One of those things is the price point, the value of that price. You can give something away for free sometimes. Okay. And I saw this an article the other day of this guy who was talking about the perception of value and his perceived value to retail and market, and what is the value of it to a person. In the end, he had tried to give away a couch for free on Facebook Marketplace and no one would take it. And then he turned around and offered it for $350 and had 3 people that wanted to buy it and come pick it up that afternoon. Yeah.
I'd be scared of a free couch, I think.
Everyone would be scared of a free couch, right? You're like, what's crawling on it? Where has it been? Do I have to use like a UV light on this thing? Because I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole.
Exactly.
Yeah. But all of a sudden, perception of value changed from the monetary output. And people kind of forget that because they're typically operating in more of their limiting scarcity belief mindset, right?
Yep.
You got to push out of that mindset and realize there's abundance of any price and product type to meet a specific need, right? One person's 100 is another person's 1,000 is another person's 1 million. And we don't always see that because of the conditions we've been put into, the way we've been trained, our familia status with our family, talking about money or not talking, and in circles that we operate in within our community or friend or peer group. who also can or cannot do those things, and we simply just can't see the way it gets done.
We're delighted to announce the Value Creators online course. For entrepreneurs in every kind of business, big, small, or medium, at every stage, in every industry, our course provides the foundations and principles on which to build success. Simple, clear purpose and principles give rise to creativity, innovation, and competitively superior business action. There are 11 foundational principles or mental models that together cohere into the value business model. Principles for value generation, principles for value operations, principles for value finance and accounting, and principles for value sustainability, as well as the new knowledge accumulation you'll need for continuous innovation. These principles are delivered by top business professors from top business schools: Mark Packard, Per Byland, Gordon Miller, David Rapp, and Bart Vanderhagen. You'll find video lessons from them, along with downloadable tools, processes, and other valuable content. Master these lessons, and you'll master the most important skill in business: value creation. Go to thevaluecreators.com and click the course link. So, Neil, can you share with us a specific product from your history or your client's history that is a great illustration of this price, value, choose your product, choose your customer, do an innovation, make it a little bit better?
Absolutely. So you've got a crock pot in your house, possibly?
Probably.
Okay. Or you at least know grandma had a crock pot. That's kind of the old adage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And somewhere, once upon a time, in the legend and inner myths of the interweb, or just legend of conversation, somebody's grandma's house burned down because of a crock pot, right? So it's always that fear of safety that if you have a crock pot, it's going to take not only a long time to cook, but there's this safety factor of leaving it on the countertop that it might burn down. Okay. So who played on that objective and who used those three questions and concerns: the safety, the value, and the perception of value, and answered it correctly? Well, it was Instapot. Instapot basically came in and said, well, we're not your grandma's crock pot. We're safer. We have technology that'll make it easier and it'll go faster. You don't have to leave it all day. You can create a hot, warm meal just like grandma made and do it in half the time with all the safety features, and just about anybody could do it, right? And it sold $1 billion a year in sales.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Now, the innovation, okay, of those two things is not terribly difficult to see the leap, is it? They put some electronics on it. They changed the value statement. They targeted younger women who were more career oriented, who wanted families and had families and needed to create a hot meal, but didn't want to just, pick a pizza up at the end of the day. They wanted some food and value, and they targeted right into those three problems and solved them with Instapot, and they sold a lot. Who's doing it next? Air fryers. Air fryers is just another lateral innovation on the line of a desktop, cooking counter kitchen top product. Air fryers are obviously not Instapots. They cook a different way, but they cook just as fast and fit the same needs and metrics. Now, we've done the same thing in our products, right? We've done them with ice nugget machines, right? That we've created perceived values of the cleanliness, the way it produces, how quiet it is, because those are the concerns most of people who have like a nugget ice maker that set it on their kitchen countertop have. They're like, well, is it going to stay clean? Is it going to get moldy or dirty? Does it make ice relatively fast? They have these concerns about it, and we answer those concerns, and now we're selling them like crazy. We're selling air mattresses because the concerns were they deflated and they're hard to blow up, and you need a secondary unit to power it up. I don't want to sit there and blow it till I'm, dizzy in the head and unconscious. So we solved those problems with reinforced walls. We created a higher end durability of the material and lined the outer walls with more structure so it would be stronger. And then we put in an automatic pump built into the side that would automatically inflate and keep it inflated overnight. So you are always on a comfortable mattress that doesn't deflate and fall off. So we simply have gone into each of those products and created those opportunities. We've created them with bed sheets, right, that are Egyptian cotton 1200 thread count, where we went and solicited the Egyptian government to get a registration to be approved as an Egyptian approved cotton. And we got the registration and added it in with our trademark. And now we're one of two on Amazon that sells the only Egyptian country certified organic cotton at 1200 thread count. And we're selling the absolute crap out of it. So just some ideas at the end of the day. The thing I want you to understand about those products isn't to focus on the product. It's to realize that once you understand how to answer that customer avatar, once you understand who they are and what they're doing and what they want, you can sell anything to anyone in a box.
Yeah. So just to take one of those examples that were fascinating, thank you. the air mattress you talked about, how do you go into the supply chain and find the suppliers and the origination process and the factories and the
Yeah.
designers who will reinforce the walls of an air mattress so that you can sell it?
hmm
How
Yeah,
do you
so
do that?
first we always market test. So what we did is we looked for suppliers that already create air mattresses, and we looked for a quality air mattress that matched one that was already selling on Amazon. Remember, we're going to innovate, not invent. So we went in
Mhm.
and did the due diligence, looked at the numbers, and said these 5 to 7 air mattresses are selling really well. We believe there's a spot for us in that top 5 if we make these 3 changes. But the first thing we're going to do is market test to find out in our brand with our listing, our copy, will the AI engine, okay, love what we've given it? We prime the engine on 100 units, okay, of a product that's very similar to one that's already in the market. We're simply doing a market test, right?
Mhm.
With 80% confidence, we know it's going to sell well, sell profitably, sell at particular volumes of estimated sales over 12 months, okay? And with an estimated profitability. We call that our green light spreadsheet process, okay? And in that green light or GLS plus process, we know all the metrics of cost, all the metrics of marketing, all the metrics of ordering up to a 40-foot container of the product. And then we project that from the 100 units, if all the stats meet a predicted and expected outcome in 90 days of that test, that we can order 1,000 units after that, okay, with a successful knowledge that the first market test was answered. We know 80% of the confidence. We're simply asking the market for 20% validation. All right. It's in the market, it's selling, and they're telling us, did we perform correctly here? Did we meet your expectations? Did we
Mhm.
answer your questions? Did all the metrics and conversions come back and say yes? Then we will throw good money after 1,000 units. Okay. And in the 1,000 units, we will innovate. That's when we will make 3 to 4 changes that differentiate that product from the market based on the feedback and the value of that test. We will then make those adjustments to the product. So we found a manufacturer that made a standard air mattress type. We tested the 3 different sizes of a standard queen and king and extra large king. And then we found out we could sell them. All right. So the first test was successful. The metrics worked good. So then we ordered 1,000 units of a manufacturing change where we put 3 or 4 changes in, and we simply asked the manufacturer to make those 3 to 4 changes to the product and to send us the final prototype when they were done with those changes so that we could validate, get our hands on it, and make sure that they did what we asked them to do before they ran the 1,000 unit production. So there are plenty of manufacturers you can find out there from different websites, 1688. You can go to Alibaba. You can start out there if you're new to this. We have
Mhm.
12 years of supply chain now. So for us, we've got all kinds of trusted manufacturers all over the globe that we've already purchased from, bought at scale, and can go back to in all of these different areas and look at products very quickly. We've also got long term trusted sourcing agent relationships. We call them feet on the street in different locations all over the world where they are bilingual and they can literally go to these manufacturers for us now, find out new ones, vet existing ones, do quality control, negotiations, and everything for us there, and then present it back to us and we can make decisions on that data.
Yeah, I remember reading that your green light spreadsheet has 25 columns or something. You've got
At least
a portfolio of these things going
it
on at all
does.
times, right?
It does. And we do our research through conditional statements and training with virtual assistants. We also have a system called Node Hunter that literally goes out, takes all those data points, and continuously cycles through different categories in what we call nodes on Amazon's big filing system of data. And in it, it's kind of a tree, right? And there is these little leaves that exist inside of Amazon. They're called nodes. And that's where brands actually compete with each other. And so we have this system that goes out and based on our algorithm continuously pulls new products in and research for us, presents those products. We look at the green lights and we determine whether or not it could be a good product to source or take to a vetting process with the manufacturer. Assuming all the numbers and stuff work, we got ourselves a good test product.
The other thing that jolted me in your book a little bit, Neil, was you talk a lot about the P&L. We've talked about profit and cost
Yeah.
management, that kind of thing.
Yep.
But you're also thinking about the balance sheet. Let's build an asset here that we can
Correct.
sell.
That's true.
And you said often the serious money is the exit.
Correct. There's building more. You're building an asset, and you borrow from real estate. Okay, you're building an asset. You've got the property. You built the home. It's to spec. It looks great, and you take that and you sell it in the market for hopefully double what you put into it. Like typical real estate is going to say, I can build for 150. I'm going to sell it for 300, 325, whatever comparable I can put in that market. I'm going to flip this house by for a sale. Very similar concept in business, right? We're going to build up assets, intellectual property physical product inventory, creating brand and demand for that. And in 3 to 5 years, after we've moved through some growth, hopefully scale through the product, it is an asset that is worth 3 to 10 or 15 times what you put into it. So building with the end in mind is what we call the platinum principle.
Yeah.
Right? And that is that value of the business is worth more that in the end than at any time during the business building phase. While you can cash flow, which is, sanity. Oh, excuse me. It's like profit is sanity, cash flow is king, and revenue is vanity, right?
Yeah.
So you can cash flow these, profit, pay yourself, and get them to grow. But then the exit is really where the opportunity lies. There are institutional, corporate suitors, and private investment groups out there everywhere looking to buy businesses right now, willing to pay 3 to 15x for the bottom line.
Yeah, we're big believers in brands, and normally you don't think about this kind of selling products on Amazon business as brand building, but the way you guide us in the book is to think about building a brand, so it's got asset value that you can sell at the end.
It is not. It is a single channel of sales in a e-commerce business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, an Amazon only channel is, in my world, not a business by itself. Okay, it is a sales channel by which you're validating market. From there, move retail, move to other channels, open other distributions, capture more customer information from those additional channels where you get 100% of their data. And it's a very big asset in the business to have a list and a customer list of data and information, and increase the valuation of the company through multiple sales channels. Why I like Amazon? There's 150 to almost 200 million people buying on there. That's almost the entire country of America that has an Amazon account is bought on it. There's huge demand. All right. There's 8,600 units a minute running through that platform, 8,600 units a minute. There's huge market share demand for people who want those products. So I put them on a demand capture platform. That's what Amazon has become. It's not a discovery platform. It's a demand capture. Okay. Which means I don't want necessarily my brand to be the name at this point or importance, even up to 6, 7 figures. What I want is people to trust that they can find my products and brand through Amazon's leveraged infrastructure so that I can prove and incubate that this has mass market appeal. From there, I can do a lot more with that business.
Yeah. So you're managing the demand chain as well as the supply chain. That's the way I like
100%.
to put it. Yeah.
There's the social media is demand creation.
Yeah.
All right. It's very important. UGC, influencers, etc. That's demand creation. Videos that go viral, people that promote your product, live streams like mini QVC episodes now, right? Or shows are doing extremely well. In fact, I would be very hesitant to be in a QVC ownership position right now or a home shopping network, knowing that the live streams are making more per an hour or every 3 hours than most of the QVC shows their entire existence. And so they got to be careful because this is going to take over. And that's demand creation. So once you get that going, you've captured on Amazon most of the traffic and stuff that's going around because people are very comfortable and they know it. And if they saw it on Facebook, they're going to go to Amazon and be like, is that legitimate? Oh, I found it. It's probably legitimate. It's on Amazon. When back in the day when the internet came online, it was yellow pages until the internet. And in the internet, it was like brochureware websites to prove that you were a legitimate company. Well, in today's world, brands and people are now looking to say, can I find your product on Amazon if I saw it anywhere else? And that legitimizes the purchase of that product. They may go back to the original channel and purchase it from, say, TikTok or Shopify or your website once they validated they found you on Amazon, or they may decide to go ahead and buy you on Amazon. We've discovered that this thing called a halo effect that occurs across all of these, multiple channels is up to 30% of all of that channel traffic, including television ads, flows back to Amazon. So it is there to be captured. Now, if I discover that your brand is not capturing it correctly on Amazon and I see a loophole for that product's innovation, I'm going to go exploit it because it's already moving on that channel 24/7, 365, and you're not getting it and I can go get it.
The demand is already there.
Already there. It's a river flowing right through that channel 24/7, buying stuff in 30 seconds or less. Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff's coming back. He's going to plug in $80 billion or some ridiculous number into AI for the next year. And this is going to change that even greater as an opportunity for e-commerce buyers and sellers in the next year.
So Neil, you wrote the book, Almost Automated Income with FBA. It's I read it cover to cover. I learned a lot, and it's really instructive. So what's your value proposition to the entrepreneurs and future business people who are listening? Will you coach them? Will you fund them? Will you help them build infrastructure? What's your business
all of the above
model?
To a degree. So we work with operators because once upon a time I had the warehouse. I went through the third party logistics framework pre-Amazon. on a products suite we were doing in Utah, and we had about 20,000 square foot of warehouse and 12 employees. When that reached 8 figures, we ran into some problems. Our net profit was below 8%. We weren't happy with that. We were doing basically more of a job. And so it just turned into a problem. And so we had employees and all this overhead, and we ended up shutting it down, right? It was just too much. The systems and mechanisms by which, say, Amazon and platforms are now allowing us to access the customer and get the back end delivery of the last mile to the customer creates a simple business model at the end of the day of finding a product, manufacturing it, and selling it through those platforms. So we have then come to the position where, starting in 2019, we allowed some of those individuals to work with us in a consultative agreement, a one-on-one 12-month engagement to teach them exactly what we were doing in our business model to replicate it. So I was teaching and are teaching entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, business owners how to leverage these channels of access, and then putting them into a CEO operator position. So getting them to understand that you could build these companies flexible without employees. We don't own warehouses anymore. We have all this logistics and third-party supply chain behind us. So we can focus very much on the customer experience, customer value, average lifetime value, average order value, and really focus on producing great brands into the customer market segment, which frees us up to do a lot more stuff. I have a family of 6. I'm 4 daughters. I live on 50 acres in the country. I run this off of Starlink. My operations are global. We do 8 figures in business. At the end of the day, I don't have to touch the products, move the products, and I'm freed up in my schedule to do podcasts like this and other things, while operations and logistics are being done in hours. Like, one of our operations teams handles about 7 businesses between them, and there's only 1 lead and 5 VAs, right? So the systems of automation allow that to occur. So if you're a business owner or an entrepreneur or a solopreneur and you want to get involved in physical products, I'm going to take my 17 years of knowledge, my entire team and structure, and show you how to do that as a lifestyle-driven business model. So you don't need the employees anymore, which I've had people come in and look at, okay, I don't need 50 employees anymore. How do I do this without them? Or I don't want to gain 50 people, or I want out of this corporate job and I want to move it forward. I'm going to teach you how to become a CEO operator. You are more powerful to me than an employee. You become part of my network. And if I can instruct and train you on how to become a good operator, well, we do joint ventures. You mentioned funding and other things. We'll do product partnerships with our clients, right? We will acquire companies. We're under LOI with 2 companies right now to acquire them as a roll-up for this year. Should be about 30 million in sales when we're done. And these 2 companies are going to be operated by people who were trained by me, who are going to get profits from that. And are going to become operators. It is part of a joint venture, mission, if you will, of a business, to be with this company called Patriot Growth Capital. Okay, Patriot Growth Capital is a veteran-funded, veteran-backed, veteran-operated business that is in the funding space, by which we're in the operations management and oversight space. And as a joint venture, we're acquiring these companies together to allow veterans the ability to have a place to land. Okay, for themselves and their families. They can be trained as operators, grow up. As we acquire the companies, we will train them into the operations and CEO role. At the end of 5 years, they'll be eligible to acquire the company if they choose to acquire it.
And will you help them ideate, help people to find the right product, get into the right business, choose the right customers right at the
biggest part
beginning?
of the model. What the heck do I sell? I will show you the products. I will show you the numbers by the products. I will make sure that you launch a good product, know that it's profitable, and then be able to scale it to 1,000 units and beyond. That is an important part of building the house, right? And if we can't teach them to do that correctly, there's no asset at the end to sell. And part of our arrangement with them is what's called first rights of refusal, borrowed from real estate, right? Which is, as we train them and grow them up, we are also the exit. So as they reach $1 million in EBITDA, they become eligible off market for Voltage to take a look at acquiring them through our PGC agreement. So I am both the beginning and the end for people who get started with us.
Yeah, it's a great model. And you've created this picture of the platform on top of which is running a network, which you've just described, of the CEO operators and the businesses and the logistics chains and the trading. It's a fascinating picture, and that's the future of the economy. I think
it really is. It comes back to, can you build businesses, get people involved, get supply chain involved, provide value to your customers, provide value to the people that work within the business, creating jobs and more jobs through all the different levels of this business model. All right. from the management all the way down the logistics, supply chain, and manufacturing, which I am bullish on the opportunity that much of that is going to come back to the United States in the next 3 to 5 years, okay,
Yeah.
which I'm extremely happy about, frankly, because that creates more jobs. And as we build more brands and people buy more products, we have more jobs. And so that middle market group is changing within that 20, 25 million small businesses into a lot more people like us, where supply chain, AI, and logistics are now blinky lights and dashboards with all this infrastructure behind it to allow us to meet those needs faster and faster.
Yeah. And one of the chapter headings in your book is process, process, process.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of discipline. It's
Yeah.
I made a note to myself that this is not for the faint-hearted. But so if I want to become a CEO operator in your network and building on your infrastructure, what's that life like? Is that the grind, or is that the 50 acres and the 2 horses?
Its goal is to take the 17 years of knowledge I have. My partner has never held a job. I fired the man in 2007 when I left IBM to start my businesses. And so the end is really to get people to do in 3 to 5 years what took us that long to get to.
Mm-hmm.
Because now we have the time, the supply chain, the process, the people, and the technology. I can move someone through that process like a Daniel Espy or a David LeBlanc in 3 to 5 years into 10 to $20 million a year businesses. Okay. So again, as a country guy, I will tell you, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. So at the end of the day, what I'm looking for is people who understand the idea of plans, but they also understand that it's the mission and value you're ultimately after in the end. And you need to stay focused on what that is. If it's more time with your family, more time to do what you want to do and make, wealth and generational wealth freedoms and time freedoms in that, then this is the process by which we're doing it in our community. If you want to work a W-2, that's cool. But if you don't want to have to work 40 hours a week to do this, we do things in 10 to 15 hours a week now. Systems, AI, automations, it makes it so much easier now. While you have to work actively to get it off the ground and get it into place in the first 12 months, your growth and scale come in years 2, 3, and 4. And by growth and scale and time and market, again, 8,600 units a minute on Amazon. Okay. Moving 100 units is just the beginning. Moving 300, 500. Okay. Some of our brands move more than 1,000 a day. The end result is these can move extremely fast. There's huge abundance of opportunity to do that. And if you want to create that and get out of that grind, get out of the traffic, get out of the life, get out of the flying. I flew 200 days my last year in IBM. Okay. That's a grind, right? And I know there's a lot of people that are out there thinking, well, that's the only way to get happy, to make money and do what? And I'd say, find that purpose and value. Ultimately, say put a 5-year objective on it and then do anything you can do that you choose to do of your own free will in that first 3 to 5 years so you can live like nobody else can after that, right? E-Myth, he's totally right when he talks about this. It is an important part of understanding, though, the flexibility and agility of an entrepreneur is not a hard and fast plan. It is an understanding of mission and purpose first and value that you bring so that the profits will come along the way, right? Well, you always joke, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him your plans, right? If you want him rolling over, tell him your expected timeline.
Right.
Okay. I launched my business in the first year. I could have gone out of business because I not only got married, launched my business, found out we were pregnant with our first child. My wife, who had an RN BSN degree, who was kind of helping prop up what I was getting as severance in that first year from IBM, went on bed rest and had to leave her job. So we went to zero income with a new baby and a new marriage in the first year. And we did something that not everybody is willing to do in the world of entrepreneurial. And this is the last component you really need to understand. What are you willing to risk to feel the fear and do it anyways? Okay. Yeah. We sold the home we built that we planned to live in, right? We sold the cars. We recouped capital and we went for longevity. We went for a mission. The mission was to never leave my children again. The mission was we don't do things without a family. The mission was we stay together. Okay. And that became the way we operated as a unit. And I've been there for all of their births. I've traveled 3 times away from them in 17 years. And every time we've gone, we've always gone as a family. Right. So at the end, that's my mission. I will never regret ever taking the risk to do that.
Yeah, I love that. And I do believe that entrepreneurship has meaning and purpose, and it brings value to other people. And that's a noble way to live your life. And yeah, you got to have all the infrastructure, all the process, all the method, all the guts that you talk about. But it's a noble way to make a living.
Well, and at the end, walk the walk and talk the talk. I want my daughters to see what I'm doing so they can
Yep.
see the opportunity for themselves. If I'm not living it, but just telling them about it, are they really going to get it? No. But if I'm living it and showing them, are they going to actually follow it? Yes. My 16-year-old published her first book at 15, okay, and has become a best-selling author. So now she's moving on to publishing additional books and working through the process of building up her business.
Yeah.
And she would not have done that if I didn't spend the time, energy, attention, and money to help her learn it, right? And I couldn't walk it right if I wasn't doing it in front of her.
That's beautiful. Well, Neil, we mentioned at the beginning that you're offering 10 free copies of your book. We articulated that link so people can go there. Almost Automated Income with FBA. How else should people knock on your door and come and find you and ask for the help you're offering?
Well, at the end of the day, here's the thing, right? Your opportunity begins at the end of your excuses. So if you think it's not for you, if you think you can't do it, I've got 19-year-old high school dropouts and 76-year-old grandmas who did it. At the end of the day, you need to learn. So go and read the book if you're a reader. Go on to the website, voltagedm.com. Check out the free trainings. Check out the presentation workshop. Check out the live virtual summits we have. And find out if it's something you can understand, because you could do it if you apply yourself. Now, here's the thing at the end of the day, right? We are not a course. We are not a program. We are a consultancy. We are a 12-month one-on-one arrangement. We are working with those who have chosen to do this business model with or without us, right?
Mm-hmm.
What we provide is the implementation and the speed and the experience to keep them from doing it for $500,000 in 3 to 5 years, and instead get it off the ground and get it to 100K in net profits in the first 12 to 24 months. We have a specific plan of action and time-focused effort under that, and you will learn about that in those resources. Just understand, if you show up, we're going to expect you to be serious, and you're going to play a serious game because we're not messing around.
Yeah. Good. Well, Neil, thank you very much. Thank you for the time that you spent with us, and thanks for all of those contacts and information, and thanks for the free books.
You've been a wonderful host, Hunter. Thank you for having me on, sir.
Enjoyed it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
This has been another episode of the Value Creators Podcast. Thanks for listening. You can visit thevaluecreators.com for links and resources related to this episode, and check out hunterhastings.com for more content on entrepreneurial business management based on value creation principles.